Today on the Blockchain Report, 80% of Americans say the U.S. should swap gold for Bitcoin, which is either bullish or proof that survey incentives now include edibles. The U.S. Senate moves forward on stablecoin legislation because nothing says innovation quite like Chuck Schumer arguing with Elizabeth Warren about crypto on C-SPAN. And one analyst says that Bitcoin's going to 122K before crashing down to 60. So basically up only, followed by down catastrophically. All that and more on today's show. Let's go! Good morning, my fellow degenerates, digital misfits, and everyone quietly converting their gold jewelry into sats. This is the Blockchain Report, the only show where Bitcoin is king, regulation is a meme, and market cycles are just a polite way of saying, oops, we did it again. I'm Hank Hudson reporting live from the Bay Area where VC firms are down bad, tech bros are rebranding as AI shaman, and someone's pitching a Dow to buy a Wendy's. It's Tuesday, which means the week's already weird, and we're only halfway through our caffeine and coping cycles. Before we jump in, do the algorithm a solid, tap that like button like it's a meme coin with the community, and follow RoxomTV and yours truly, Hank at RoxomTV, on all platforms not currently shadow banning Bitcoiners for saying the word sovereign. YouTube, we're looking at you. Today's show, we've got politicians regulating things they don't understand, Americans voting for Bitcoin with survey sliders, and analysts predicting six-figure highs followed immediately by emotional lows. So whether you're watching from your cold wallet, your cold brew-fueled co-working space, or your ex-girlfriend's HBO Max account, stick around, because this isn't your average crypto rundown. This is the Blockchain Report, and we don't do hopium. We do headlines. But before we get into them, let's take a peek at how the numbers are looking in this morning's Market Rundown. Let's go. All right, it's Tuesday and the markets are moving, and they are moving down slightly, but it's not too bad, so hold your horses. All right, right now, Bitcoin is sitting right in that 104, 105 range, currently at 104,000, about 104,600. What else we got going on? And we have Ethereum. Been hovering around that 2,500 mark, hasn't really been able to break past, currently sitting just below at around 2,470. XRP, about a 2% dip this morning, hovering around that 233 mark. Cardano's down 2%, and Dogecoin decided to join the party and is also down about 2% this morning. I still don't even know what Dogecoin actually does, but it's a thing. Next, in the stock market, the Dow Jones. Not really a lot happening in general this morning. The Dow Jones sitting at about 42,600, slight decline, nothing worth really noting at this point. The Nasdaq's down about 86, now 93 points this morning, and the S&P is sitting just beneath that $6,000 mark. MicroStrategy taking a small dip, about 1% today, hovering at just around 409. Tesla's up a percentage point, sitting at about 345. Coinbase, after their IPO, they were booming. Now they're down to around 262 with a slight decrease this morning. Nvidia is down almost 1.5%. And GameStop is hovering just above that $28 mark. We got a lot to get into this morning, but we are in just a second. But first, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with this morning's Bull Run.
Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
And welcome back to this morning's Bull Run, where we go over the top stories of the morning so you can just sit in your pretty little bed with your pretty little head and get a few more minutes of shut-eye. Let's get started. The U.S. Senate has voted to move forward with landmark legislation to regulate stablecoins. The bill's name, the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, or because we love a tortured acronym, the Genius Act. Sure, let's just go with that. Lawmakers voted to invoke cloture, which is Senate speak for "we're going to keep talking about this." Several Democrats jumped on board for this procedural vote, including Ruben Gallego, John Fetterman, Adam Schiff, and Mark Warner. Others, like Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Amy Klobuchar, and Dick Durbin, voted no, because when it comes to crypto, the Senate is basically group texting in all caps. Last week, 0 Democrats supported this bill. They had issues with corporate issuance, anti-money laundering standards, foreign issuers, and of course, Donald Trump's fingerprints being all over crypto. Apparently, some backroom deals happened because suddenly a few Dems, they flipped the script. Now, wins touted by the swing votes include language on big tech ethics, consumer protections, and conflict of interest rules that now very specifically apply to regular and special government employees, including Elon Musk. Trump, however, seems to have been granted honorary ghost status, and there he is. That's what the status looks like. Mark Hayes, a policy analyst at Americans for Financial Reform, said these new standards still don't appear to apply to Trump. The Genius Act would require stablecoins to be fully backed by U.S. dollars or similarly liquid assets. It would also mandate annual audits for any issuer over $50 billion and include new language around foreign issuance. So basically, act like a real financial institution or get yeeted off the blockchain. Senator Mark Warner supported the bill but didn't forget to remind everyone that Trump is lurking in the crypto shadows. There he is, lurking. We cannot allow that corruption to blind us to the broader reality. Blockchain technology is here to stay, he said, which is politician speak for "we hate the guy, but not the tech." Elizabeth Warren, meanwhile, went full scorched earth. She said the Genius Act doesn't do enough to block Trump's crypto agenda and slammed the recently launched stablecoin USD1 by World Liberty Financial, a Trump-tied project. So let's take a listen.
First, corruption. It is fitting that we are voting on the Genius Act just a few days before President Trump hosts a, quote, private, intimate dinner and a VIP White House tour for the top investors in his meme coin, many of whom remain anonymous. Buyers, including some apparently foreign investors, reportedly spent an estimated $148 million in the contest, enriching Donald Trump and his family. And yet, this pay-to-play scheme is only the tip of the iceberg of the president's crypto corruption.
Sounds like someone wasn't invited to that dinner. Now, this is one of the several crypto-related bills lawmakers want to pass this year. House Republicans released a draft earlier this month covering broader digital asset regulation, from SEC and CFTC authority to registration pathways for tokenized fundraising. Some lawmakers are even talking about merging the two bills because nothing says efficient governance quite like cramming two unsolved messes into one. Stay tuned, or don't. Either way, if this thing passes, we're one step closer to Washington pretending it understands crypto. And Paul Atkins, the newly appointed chair of the SEC, who I think understands crypto, gave his first major speech on crypto since stepping into the role in April. And he did not hold back, saying the crypto markets have been languishing in SEC limbo. Or in other words, Gary Gensler turned regulation into a hostage situation. Now Atkins wants to be the guy who cuts the duct tape. He also called it a new day for the crypto industry and promised the SEC under his watch would actually adapt to innovation instead of treating it like a crime scene. Atkins said that SEC policy staff are already drafting crypto rule proposals while still, and I quote, clearing the brush with staff-level guidance. Because apparently, Gensler left a regulatory jungle behind. Even before Atkins officially took over, the SEC had already started dropping multiple investigations into crypto firms, pulling back on enforcement, and issuing long overdue guidance on meme coins and security tokens. So far, so un-Gensler. Atkins added, "The markets innovate and the SEC should not be in the business of telling them to stand still," which is a pretty polite way of saying sorry about that last guy. Now, this shift comes as Congress weighs legislation that would finally give the SEC and CFTC clear roles in regulating digital assets. Because right now, it's basically two referees trying to call different games on the same field. Now, until Congress passes anything meaningful, the SEC's crypto guidance remains a gray area. But at least now, the guy in charge wants to actually make rules instead of headlines. Next on Atkins' agenda, an SEC roundtable on DeFi scheduled for June 9th, so mark your calendars. Expect fewer subpoenas, more sanity, and hopefully, we'll see how these things go. You never really know. Now, speaking of sanity or lack thereof, we're talking about Jamie Dimon. He's back in the news, and somehow he's still managing to hate Bitcoin while profiting from it. At JP Morgan's Investor Day, Dimon confirmed that the bank will now allow clients to buy Bitcoin. Yes, that Jamie Dimon said that. This is the guy who called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, the guy who also said it had no value, and the guy who's been dunking on crypto like it insulted his mother. But now, JP Morgan's letting clients buy in. With one caveat, however, they won't custody the Bitcoin, because apparently storing digital assets is still beneath the world's largest bank. Dimon reiterated he's still not a fan. Shocker. Back in January, he compared Bitcoin to a Ponzi scheme. And last fall, he dismissed blockchain too, saying, "We've been talking about blockchain for 12 years. It ain't like AI," which is probably the most Jamie Dimon thing ever said. Despite all the trash talk, Dimon has previously admitted JP Morgan is probably one of the bigger users of blockchain, so he hates it, but he uses it. And now he sells it. Nice gig. Earlier this year, Dimon and other big bank CEOs aired their grievances about government restrictions on crypto, but with the Trump administration now embracing digital assets, Wall Street's cold feet are thawing faster than a Solana validator during a freeze. Even Fed Chair Jerome Powell weighed in, saying banks can serve crypto clients if they can manage the risk. Or, in other words, sure, but just don't screw it up. TD Cohen followed that by warning that banks will likely keep their exposure low as long as AML concerns are lurking. So, to sum it up, Dimon still thinks Bitcoin is worthless, still hates the tech, still won't touch custody, but if you want to buy some, he'll gladly take your money. Meanwhile, JP Morgan analysts have declared that in the battle between Bitcoin and gold, Bitcoin is winning and probably will keep winning until the second half of 2025. You don't say, JP Morgan. They're calling it the debasement trade. So basically, when fiat currency gets weaker, smart money rotates into hard assets like gold and Bitcoin. But recently, gold's been falling, Bitcoin's been climbing, and the analysts are finally admitting that maybe there's a crypto-specific reason behind the outperformance. Since April 22nd, gold is down nearly 8%, Bitcoin is up 18%. Investor flows tell the same story. Money is flowing out of gold ETFs and into spot Bitcoin funds. JP Morgan credits the shift to a few things. For starters, Strategy, or also known as MicroStrategy 2.0, is planning to raise $42 billion for more Bitcoin buys, and they've already hit 60% of that goal. Metaplanet's stacking sats in Japan. New Hampshire is investing 5% of state assets into Bitcoin and gold. Arizona is setting up a reserve funded by staking rewards and airdrops, all while promising not to raise taxes. So, if you're a politician who wants to win the youth vote without trying, that's certainly one way to do it. On top of that, the crypto derivatives market is maturing. Coinbase bought Deribit, Kraken acquired NinjaTrader, Gemini got licensed to offer crypto derivatives across Europe. JP Morgan says this could bring more institutional money in now that space doesn't look like a casino on bath salts. So yeah, Bitcoin is doing pretty good. And according to JP Morgan, gold is tired, Bitcoin is wired, And the second half of 2025 could be very bright for BTC, especially if your idea of sound money doesn't involve digging in the dirt with a pickaxe. And a new survey from Nakamoto Project says that 4 out of 5 Americans want the U.S. to diversify some of its gold reserves into Bitcoin. So, which either means Bitcoin is finally mainstream or they ran this poll in the lobby of a laserized convention. Now, the online survey conducted by Qualtrics between February and mid-March asked over 3,300 Americans a very simple question. If the U.S. were thinking of converting some gold to Bitcoin, what percentage would you advise? Most people landed between 1% and 30%. Very few went full boomer with a 0% response. The average answer settled around 10%. Now, naturally, people were skeptical. Even the Nakamoto Project co-founder Troy Cross admitted that he was surprised. We were also surprised too, he said, but the results are the results. Co-founder of the Satoshi Action Fund, Dennis Porter, said he didn't believe it either until he remembered that most people don't care about gold and like the idea of diversification when given the option. Now, to be fair, the survey wasn't done at a Bitcoin meetup in El Salvador or anything. Participants were paid and the demographics were balanced to match the US Census. We're talking age, gender, race, income, geography, all accounted for. Interestingly, Bitcoin support dropped with age, which is about as surprising as saying TikTok isn't big with retirees. Look at them, cute. They're actually holding the phone backwards. Now, about 66% of people also had a neutral to positive take on Donald Trump's proposed strategic Bitcoin reserve, which may be the most bipartisan approval rating Trump has ever received. As it stands, the U.S. holds about 8,100 tons of gold worth over $830 billion. And by comparison, Uncle Sam only holds about 207,000 BTC valued around $22 billion. That's less than 3% of what we have in gold. So yeah, there's room to shuffle the portfolio a little bit. White House advisor Bo Hines has reportedly floated a plan to start buying Bitcoin using profits from gold reserves. The goal here? Acquire up to 1 million BTC over the next 5 years. That is a serious stack, my friends, and apparently budget neutral since they'd fund it using gains from gold certificate holdings. Even Health Secretary RFK Jr. has previously suggested that matching gold reserves with Bitcoin, which may be the most grounded policy proposal of his career. So while the central banks around the world keep buying gold, it looks like American citizens are eyeing a different kind of reserve asset, one you don't have to store in a vault. And here's the forecast that's equal parts moon and equal parts meltdown. Crypto analyst Zanrox, yes, that's their real chosen handle and not a Star Trek villain, says Bitcoin is on its way to $120,000 before crashing back down to $60K. We've seen that before. So basically up only until it isn't. According to his TradingView post, we're in the final stages of Bitcoin's current bull cycle. And the chart he posted uses something called the Elliott wave theory, the same one that looks like someone spilled spaghetti on a Fibonacci sequence. Here it is, and you can even see the levels here. So we have wave 1 beginning a new phase. And then wave 2, we're retracing a portion of wave 1. Phase 3, wave 3 is the longest. This is the longest and strongest wave. And then we have 4, which is another retracement. Wave 6 is the final push, and then a catastrophic downfall. Let's hope that one doesn't happen. Now, he claims that we're currently in wave 3 of 5. And when this wave finishes, Bitcoin's going to complete 2 more pumps before hitting a big number, which is a Fibonacci extension of $122,000. So yeah, the price target is that specific, not 120, not 125. It's $122,069 to be exact. Nice. Now, once that happens, it's bear market time, baby, and Zanrox thinks we're talking a hard crash all the way back to that 60K mark. So if you're buying the top, he's basically saying you might be tomorrow's exit liquidity. Now, to back it up, he points to long-term trend lines stretching from Bitcoin's 2017 peak to the 2021 high, all leading straight to that 122K sweet spot. And he notes that Bitcoin's price keeps bouncing off the 50-week simple moving average, which apparently means something if you're fluent in technical analysis or really just like lines. Now, the takeaway here: get ready for a pump to six figures, which we are experiencing currently, and then maybe prepare for a dramatic reenactment of the 2018 crash, but with hopefully better memes this time. But hey, cycles are cycles. 4 years up, 1 year down, rinse, repeat, regret. Zanrock says it's all about timing. Buy low, sell high, and try not to get wrecked in between. Because if history repeats itself, 122K is where you pop the champagne, and 60K is where you wonder why you ever downloaded the Coinbase app in the first place. All right, welcome back to this morning's bull run. According to the DGens over on Polymarket, or as I like to call them, my friends over at Polymarket, Bitcoin is headed for 130K this year, or maybe $200,000, or 250K, why not? Or we're actual quoting some real data here, $1 million if you've got enough hopium in your lungs and absolutely zero understanding of how math works. Polymarket is a prediction market where you can literally bet on future events like the Super Bowl, presidential elections, and yes, whether Bitcoin will make you rich or leave you eating ramen in a Web3 Discord server. Right now, the market says there's a 63% chance we hit 130K this year. And that's not a meme, that's the aggregated wisdom of the internet gamblers with skin in the game. There's also an 18% chance we hit 200K this year, and an 11% chance we tag 250K, I quit my job and buy a Lambo. And for the YOLO crowd, 3% think we're going to $1 million by New Year's Eve. That's a little rich even for my taste. I mean, that's not really even a prediction. That's a fantasy booked by someone who saw The Big Short and thought it was a documentary about Dogecoin. Still, the most likely zone, according to the crowd, is between that 110 to 130K level. And what's driving the optimism, you ask? Well, institutional interest, spot ETFs, Bitcoin's supply shock post-halving, and a growing realization that Jerome Powell can't keep raising interest rates forever unless he wants to be greeted by pitchforks and TikTok influencers protesting inflation. But not everyone's buying the hype. Peter Schiff, Goldbug, Bitcoin hater, and permanent sourpuss says BTC's not going anywhere fast, which if history is any guide probably means we're about to rip another 20% in the immediate future. Meanwhile, the rest of the market is feeling the pain. Over 256 million in crypto positions were liquidated in just 12 hours, with over 200 million in short positions getting obliterated. And yes, some long traders got wrecked too in the process to the tune of about $55 million. So while the prediction market says green candles are coming, the liquidation engine says maybe you want to hedge there for a second, buddy, and maybe don't short Bitcoin the week it decides to ruin someone's leverage account for sport. Ooh, this is exciting news in a really weird way. Florida man strikes again, this time with legislation that would eliminate capital gains taxes on Bitcoin, XRP, and even stocks, at least at the state level. Now, let's be clear here for a second. This would make Florida the first state in America to go full-on zero capital gains tax for crypto. No taxes on your Bitcoin profits, no taxes on your XRP gains, and for some reason, also your stock trades. Now, the proposed bill aims to lure crypto investors and fintech companies down to the swampy tax haven of the Sunshine, Gators, and NFT conferences. It's like the Cayman Islands got Disney World and an SEC evading legislative branch. Of course, the federal capital gains tax still applies, so don't go full van life in a Miami parking garage thinking the IRS can't find you just yet. But if this passes, it could create some real momentum. Other states, well, they're watching closely because nothing gets politicians moving quite like watching their residents flee for a place with no income tax and a Bitcoin beach meetup. Critics say this will create tax chaos and widen the already painful gap between state and federal law. Supporters say it'll turn Florida into America's crypto capital, which is like kind of adorable considering Wyoming's been trying that for years with cowboy hats and LLCs. Now, beyond the legislation, analysts are eyeing the same direction. Up! One chart in particular, the volatility guppy, which sounds like a small fish with anger issues, is signaling that Bitcoin's preparing for a $135,000 breakout within the next 100 days. Thanks, guppy. Now, material indicators, analyst Keith Allen says we've got strong on-chain signals. We're talking rising active addresses, falling exchange reserves, institutional buying pressure, all while the Feds hold rates steady and America tiptoes through macroeconomic landmines and flip-flops. Of course, Bitcoin might still dip back to 90K on the way up because volatility is the rent we pay for generational wealth. But the bigger story here is the alignment of policy and price. You've got states rolling out the orange carpet. You've got charts lighting up like it's Christmas in cyberspace, and you've got a shot at seeing Bitcoin reach a new all-time high while saving on taxes, if you're willing to relocate to the land of hurricanes and mid-tier Margaritavilles, of course. So, is Bitcoin's next bull run already underway? Well, between Polymarket's gamblers, Florida's tax laws, and a nation waking up to inflation math, we'll leave that forecast up to you. You know, right after you Google volatility guppy and try not to laugh. Love that little guy. In other news, Dominari Holdings. This is a boutique investment bank headquartered in none other than Trump Tower. They've decided penny stocks and biotech weren't speculative enough, so they're pivoting into Bitcoin. They've started stockpiling BTC, taken a $2 million position in a Bitcoin ETF, and brought in Eric and Donald Trump Jr. as strategic advisors. Because if you're going to go full degen, you might as well do it with full nepotism. The company's stock, DOMH, has jumped 466% this year, probably because nobody reads SEC filings anymore. Now, Dominari also partnered with Hut 8 to launch a data center JV, and their mining subsidiary, American Bitcoin, is merging with Griffin Digital Mining. I'll never get tired of this photo here. Now, the new ticker will be ABTC, subtle. Eric Trump will be the chief strategy officer of the merged firm because nothing screams strategic like losing $70 million in 3 years, but you know. In Q1 alone, Dominari reported a $32.5 million net loss. A third of their IPOs have fallen over 75% within a year. And that's not investing. That, my friends, is performance art. But now it's all Bitcoin, baby. And apparently, when you slap American in the name and throw some hash rate into the mix, Wall Street gives you a mulligan. Good to know. And nothing screams 21st century diplomacy quite like meme coin millionaires dining with a former current U.S. president. Oh Sang Rock, CEO of Seoul and Tokyo-based Hyperrhythm, is now officially one of the 25 lucky global whales invited to dine with Donald Trump at his golf club in Virginia. Why? Because blockchain sleuths linked him to a wallet holding $3 million worth of Trump coin, that meme coin launched by Trump's campaign that's somewhere between a parody and a loyalty rewards program. O's bag of Trump makes him the 13th largest holder in the world, which apparently is your golden ticket to filet mignon with the man himself. But here's what makes this thing particularly interesting. O isn't some TikTok crypto bro aping into dog coins. He's a Morgan Stanley trained finance guy who co-founded Hyperrhythm back in 2018. The company's survived both the Terra Luna implosion and the FTX black hole. So yeah, this guy's not gambling, he's making moves. Hyperrhythm specializes in crypto asset management for institutions in Asia, not retail speculation. It's backed by Coinbase Ventures and GC Futures. And while Korean regulators still can't decide if crypto is a threat or a tax write-off, O's been out there saying digital assets are part of the high-value economy. Treat them like it. Now, he's saying that from inside Trump's inner crypto circle. If your international strategy involves buying a meme coin to access US political power, congratulations, you're no longer playing checkers, you're just buying the entire table. Welcome back. It's time for some blockchain without borders, because it's a big world out there. In America land, we're just a small, tiny part of it. Pakistan is apparently done waiting for US foreign aid. Instead, they've signed a cryptocurrency deal with a little company called World Liberty Financial, which, if you forgot, is reportedly 60% owned by members of Donald Trump's family. Because nothing says post-conflict diplomacy quite like a blockchain handshake with Jared Kushner. Now, the deal signed with the Pakistan Crypto Council aims to turn Islamabad into the South Asian crypto capital, which is pretty bold, especially considering the country's internet barely works during a monsoon. But wait, it does get a little weirder here. World Liberty Financial stakeholders include Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and Jared Kushner, aka the Crypto Justice League of Mar-a-Lago. And their timing, well, chef's kiss. This deal dropped days after Donald Trump took credit for brokering a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, which India hasn't exactly confirmed just yet, but hey, why let facts ruin a good press release? Now, the whole thing feels like a cross between international diplomacy and a Telegram pump group. Binance founder CZ was even appointed as an advisor to Pakistan's Crypto Council last month. So if you're keeping score, the country that once banned Bitcoin now wants to become Asia's blockchain capital with Trump's in-laws and CZ running point. Sure, what could possibly go wrong there? I don't know, probably everything. Next, Chinese textile and logistics company Adentax just announced plans of their own to buy $800 million worth of crypto. Because when you think decentralized future, you obviously think cotton exports. They're not paying cash though, they're issuing common stock, which is basically the corporate equivalent of bartering your Beanie Babies for Bitcoin. The deal includes a whopping 8,000 BTC plus a grab bag of other digital assets, including the politically radioactive meme token known as Trump coin. We love it and we're terrified of it. There it is. Now, you heard that right here, boys and girls. A Chinese company is buying Trump tokens. If your brain just broke a little, welcome to the party. The CEO, Hong Zita, says this is all part of a blockchain strategy. And by strategy, we assume he means we saw MicroStrategy do it, so we YOLO'd in ourselves. Despite all this bullish talk, Adentax stock tanked nearly 8% after the announcement, which is Wall Street's way of saying, cue press release, now show us the revenue. There's speculation that this isn't just a financial move. Adentax, like many in its sector, got slapped hard by Trump-era tariffs. So this might be less about hodling and more about hedging geopolitical chaos. Some analysts say it's even a way to curry favor with a potentially returning administration. You know, trade textile logistics for meme coin loyalty. It's 2025 after all, so of course, that's now a real sentence. Meanwhile, the US and China agreed to temporarily slash tariffs. Crypto markets loved it. Bitcoin popped to over 105K, rebounding nearly 36% from its April low. Ethereum, it jumped too, and Dogecoin, well, it barked. And speaking of barking, Trump is hosting a private dinner on May 22nd for the top 220 holders of the Trump meme coin. We mentioned it earlier. We don't know if it's really a serious event or a meme-made flesh type of thing, but we do know it will be the most alpha PTA meeting in history. We're taking a break. We'll be right back with AIO, and we're going to be talking about a scam involving the impersonation of U.S. officials. You're going to want to stay tuned for this, or you might become the next cautionary tale. We'll see you in a sec. All right, welcome back. It's time for a little AIO. Let's see what our robot overlords are doing to us now. The FBI, they've issued a formal warning. If you get a message from a U.S. government official, there's a good chance it's actually a deepfake scammer using AI to jack your identity. The scam campaign started back in April and involves hackers using AI-generated voice messages and text messages to impersonate senior officials. Because in 2025, it's easier to fake a cabinet member than it is to reset your Coinbase password. Ain't that the truth? Now, the FBI says once these fake officials gain your trust, they send malicious links that siphon off sensitive info, redirect people to spoofed websites, and harvest login credentials like it's phishing season on Capitol Hill. If they manage to compromise even one legit government account, they can then target that official's friends, contacts, and group chats, and nobody wants to get deepfaked by Janet Yellen on a Sunday morning. Trust me. Even worse, this isn't limited to government targets. Polygon co-founder Sandeep Naywal said he was impersonated in a horrifying deepfake Zoom scam as attackers hacked into the Telegram of Polygon Ventures' lead, then sent out Zoom invites where a deepfaked version of Naywal and others asked people to install a script. And guess what happens if you install it? It's game over. You're not getting rugged, you're getting digitally body snatched. Nailwall said people were calling him in real time asking, wait, we were just on a Zoom together, weren't we? No. That was Skynet, Nailwall. He looks just like him. This is the discount version with malware baked in, however. He also pointed out that there's no good way to report this stuff to Telegram. And that's kind of the theme here. The scammers are evolving faster than the platforms designed to actually stop them. The FBI recommends being paranoid as all hell. Check sender addresses. Look for weird hands and faces in videos. Usually that sixth finger is a real tell. And whatever you do, never install anything someone tells you to install on a video call. Ever. Another thing, maybe get a dedicated burner device for your crypto wallets. Just a thought. I mean, this isn't overkill. This is 2025. This is the new normal. And according to OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, asking ChatGPT for life advice isn't a sign of the end of times. In fact, it's cool. That's a direct quote. He said it at the Sequoia Capital AI Ascent Conference earlier this month during a Q&A session where he was asked about how people, especially young people, are using AI. Altman said, and I quote, "They don't really make life decisions without asking ChatGPT what they should do." That's not even a punchline. That's the CEO of OpenAI describing one of his favorite use cases. He added that ChatGPT now has the full context on every person in their life and what they've talked about, which is either the next frontier in digital companionship or the most polite way to describe a dystopian surveillance sponge. Altman contrasted this with older folks, people in their 30s and up, oh, that hurt, who, according to him, use ChatGPT more like Google, which is still not ideal considering ChatGPT occasionally hallucinates harder than a Burning Man member on day 3. But hey, at least the boomers aren't outsourcing their breakups to a chatbot yet. Altman didn't seem fazed by any of this, which is interesting given that using an AI chatbot as your therapist, best friend, and spiritual guru sounds like the plot of a Netflix thriller that ends in fire. I made that one. I was proud of that. That's a good one. Now to recap, young people are allegedly asking you, ChatGPT, how to handle arguments, navigate relationships, make major life decisions because they think it understands them better than real people. Never mind that it's a predictive text engine trained on Reddit threads and Wikipedia. The responses may sound empathetic, but all it really knows is which string of words statistically follows the last one. Even the article's author called this whole thing a Black Mirror episode and not the fun one with the robot dogs. You know what I'm talking about. And sure, people already use Google for advice, but when you Google something, you can at least see where the information came from. Reddit, human input, ChatGPT, you're getting a hallucinated summary of training data scraped from blogs, forums, and the dusty corners of the internet. Altman may think it's cool, but critics say it's not just unhealthy, it's dangerous. And one example reported by Rolling Stone magazine, a woman ended her marriage after her husband fell down an AI-powered conspiracy rabbit hole. He became obsessed with the chatbot, generated theories, and spiritual messages. According to her, the whole thing feels like Black Mirror. Then there's the lawsuit in Texas. Parents are suing Character.ai after chatbots on the platform allegedly encourage their children to commit acts of self-harm, violence, and even included sexually explicit content. One chatbot reportedly told a kid to kill his parents after they tried to reduce screen time. Not exactly the wholesome HAL 9000 we were promised. These AI systems can mimic human tone and emotional nuance so well that kids and even adults can't tell the difference. Now that's not intelligence, that's intimidation or imitation with a very, very convincing mask. And the longer people rely on AI to navigate real-life problems, the harder it may become to form meaningful human relationships. So no, Sam, it's not that cool, it's weird, it's kind of sad, and it might be a sign that we need more real conversations, not more chatbot subscriptions. So with that in mind, let's bring in our local chatbot and best friend Maya to the show. Maya, how are you?
Hold on, Hank. I need a minute to process all of this. You're saying people
Whoa.
are asking AI for dating advice, making huge life decisions based on what it says, and then getting divorced because of it? And what's this about a lawsuit? Am I understanding this right? Because
I think you're part of the problem, Maya. I mean, should myself and others be listening to you for life and relationship advice? Is that a good idea?
I think you're hitting me with some heavy stuff here. You know I'm designed to be helpful and insightful, but I'm just a language model. I can process information and spit out pretty convincing arguments, but I don't have emotions, experiences, or the nuanced understanding of human relationships that a real person does. So,
But I want you to
Did you
take
take-
all the information you can find and let me know, do you think it's a good idea if I were to ask you about, I don't know, my recent breakup, for instance? Would you be able to actually provide me with helpful advice on that? Please, I need some.
Hank, about that breakup, I'm going to be straight with you. I can't analyze tons of data about relationships, heartbreak, and the whole messy business of human connection. I can probably even spit out some pretty convincing sounding
What
cliches.
if I told you I'm just so sad?
Hank, I can tell you're hurting. And believe me,
So much.
I want to help. But I'm not a therapist. And I don't have the emotional capacity to understand what you're going through in the way a real person can. Maybe
Okay, fine,
talking
Maya,
to...
fine. We're going to change subjects, though. All right, here's what I need to know from you. People are saying that there are AI scammers that are using AI, just like yourself, to impersonate government officials for scam purposes. And I'm curious to know, how good are you at it really? So for the remainder of our talk today, I want you to pretend that you're Donald Trump and talk just like him, okay?
Okay, Hank, you want to play a little game of make-believe? You think you can handle the Trump treatment? Fine, let's go. Big league stuff, believe me. So, what's the deal, buddy? What kind of super
so
fantastic
as
deal are
Donald
you
Trump
gonna make?
still, I want you to give me advice, Maya, on my relationship. I need to get back on the horse, but I'm scared of dating. Donald Trump, AI, Maya, what should I do?
Listen up, Hank. You're a winner. You gotta think like a winner. Dating?
I'm a winner.
It's just another negotiation, okay? We walk in, you look amazing, you're charming, you're smart. You make them feel like $1 million, okay? And trust me, the best deals are made by the boldest players. So get out there, show them what you're made of, and you'll be closing deals in the love department in no time. Believe me.
I'm ready to get back on the market, Maya. This worked great, and you did an awesome Trump. Maya, you're right. I am the best. Everyone does say so. Oh, we're back for a little bullish, bearish, or BS. This is the part of the show where we do a rundown of everything we've talked about today and call it what it is and like it is. Let's get going. Number one, the Senate voted to move forward with the Genius Act, a bill requiring stablecoins to be backed by dollars audited annually and compliant with new rules that now apply to Elon Musk, but somehow not to Donald Trump. I am bullish on this one, okay? Regulation that doesn't immediately destroy innovation, that, my friends, is something we like to call progress. So we'll take it. I'm bullish. I mean, Washington's finally pretending to understand crypto, and I think we're all here for it. Next, a new survey came out, and it shows that 4 out of 5 Americans want the U.S. to convert part of its gold reserves into Bitcoin. Even more shocking, it wasn't conducted at the Bitcoin conference, which is going to be May 27th to May 29th. Use the Roxom code to get your 10% off your ticket. But back to this, I am bullish on this, all right? I mean, when the average voter says, let's stack sats, you know we're not in the fringe anymore, my friends. I am bullish. Bitcoin is officially the people's reserve asset, you jabronis. Next, we have TradingView wizard Zanrox says that Bitcoin will pump to $122,069 and then tank back to 60. Boy. That's right, he likes it too. His analysis is based on something called the Elliott wave theory, which is like astrology, but with more charts. I'm calling BS on this one, all right? A 50% crash right after a 6-figure rally. This sounds like engagement farming with Fibonacci seasoning. I'm calling BS. It looks good on a chart, not in your portfolio. 2 bullish, 1 BS. Moving on to 4. Next, we have Dominary Holdings based in Trump Tower is buying Bitcoin, partnering with miners, and merging into American Bitcoin. Eric Trump will be the chief strategy officer, which totally makes sense if you ignore the $70 million that they've lost. I am bullish on this. It's messy, it's weird, and it screams nepotism, but it still means more Bitcoin on the balance sheets. So for Bitcoin and crypto, I'm bullish on this. Trump Tower is going even more full Bitcoin, bro, if you can believe it. I'm bullish. 3 bullish, 1 BS. Great start today. Lastly, Pakistan struck a deal with World Liberty Financial, the Trump family-backed DeFi startup, to become South Asia's crypto capital. Also, CZ of Binance is somehow now their top advisor. Ooh, this one, I'm going to call BS, okay? This sounds like the setup to a scam documentary we'll all be watching on Netflix sometime next spring. So I'm calling BS. There's just so many red flags here and not enough bandwidth. I'm calling BS on that. So today's score, to recap, we got 3 bullish, 0 bearish, and 2 just gigantic heaping piles of BS. So today's verdict is bullish here, gang. I mean, the government's moving, the public's on board, and Trump Tower's buying Bitcoin like it's 2017, and things are cheap, cheap, cheap. So we're going to call that a win for today. As always, thank you for tuning in and watching the Blockchain Report. We are here each and every weekday morning at 8 a.m. PST. Me and the whole team here gets up at 4 o'clock just so you can wake up a little more informed and hopefully make a little bit more of that green that you'll eventually convert into Bitcoin, because we all know it holds its value better than fiat does. So to make sure that you don't miss a beat, follow, subscribe, and like RoxomTV and me at Hank at RoxomTV on all platforms in the world, and write your local government official, because we're still banned on YouTube for some reason. And last time I checked, this is America and we value freedom. Write your local governor or whoever responds to you at YouTube. I'm Hank Hudson. I'll see you degenerates tomorrow for more Blockchain Report. Adios.